It's good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's boy Millsy, deck hometown commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, a show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list of the commander in front of us on my quest to brew the magic world. As always, that deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. As well as I'd really appreciate it if you get and interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, consider becoming a member to get all the videos early, and check out the links in the description below. Today we are covering a commander that I'm very excited to use in the 99 of a lot of other decks, but I think he's a great commander in his own right, and that's Toby, Beastie, Befriender. 3-mana 1/1 white human wizard that says when it comes in, we make a 4/4 white beast creature token with this creature can't attack or block alone. And as long as we have 4 or more creature tokens you control have flying. I think this is a really great ability for a lot of other decks, but I think it's a really great ability for a white tokens deck because the evasion of flying is going to help us a ton. So we're going to try to make a bunch of tokens, obviously, to get all of our tokens in the air. We'll talk about how we can blink Toby to continue to get more and more of these 4/4 beast tokens. And then we're going to talk about how we're going to do what we do best, getting into combat and getting in there for damage. As far as making tokens goes, there's a ton of ways to do this in white. You have things like Elspeth that can make a tokens, 3 tokens every turn, and has a nice board wipe stapled there on the -3. One of my favorite ways to do this is something like Adeline, making a 1/1 human tapped and attacking each player whenever you attack. And then Adeline grows for each token you have. Amira Angel is going to get you a 1/1 bird every time a land comes in, so that's nice. Hopefully we can get one every turn that way. Illustrious Wanderglyph is kind of like Tendershoot Dryad, but in white, making a 1/1 gnome on every turn's upkeep. And then as long as you have the City's Blessing, other artifact creatures get +2/+2 as well, turning those gnomes into 3/3s and being great bodies for us. Jacked Rabbit can make a bunch of rabbits every time it attacks. The rabbits don't come in tapped and attacking, but then they still stick around as options to attack or block with later. And remember that Toby just turns it on as long as you have 4 or more, meaning that all these things that make them on attack are really great because then the ones that are already attacking get to be in the air. Mural stops our opponents from casting spells or activating abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments on our turn, and then makes soldiers, where X is the number of soldiers we control, a great pair of 2 abilities for 4 mana. And we don't mind Mural attacking just to get more tokens as well. Nesting Dovehawk makes a token that's a copy of a creature token we control at the beginning of each of our combats, and then whenever a creature token comes in, Nesting Dovehawk gets bigger, becoming a big threat for our opponents. Season of the Burrows, a nice multifaceted card. We can use it just to make 5 rabbits, or we can exile some permanents, or we can return something back with mana value 3 or less. A great optional spell there that could do a lot of good for us. Temp with Bunnies just feels like a card that would be good for us because we have the chance to get up to 4 tokens on just one spell. We draw a card and make a rabbit. Each opponent can do the same. For each one that does, we get to do it again, potentially getting up to 4 cards and 4 rabbits. Grand Crescendo can protect our board, giving it indestructible while making us a bunch of 1/1 citizens. Secure the Waste is a great one. Just X and a white, making X warrior tokens could be very useful. Wait till the end of one of our opponent's turns, put a bunch of men into the Secure the Waste, and just have a bunch of these warriors ready to go. I love this for something like Thousand Moons Smithy. Comes in to make a gnome soldier where its power and toughness are equal to the number of artifacts and creatures you control. And then at the beginning of your main phase, pre-combat main phase, we can tap 5 untapped artifact or creatures, and if we do, we turn it over into a land, and that land says that whenever you use one of those, it's mana, it taps for mana. Whenever you use the mana to cast an artifact or a creature spell, you get another one of those gnomes, basically becoming a big token that can be a threat when it gets in the air with Toby. So that's kind of the token side. That's a big part of our deck, but we can also have the option to just blink Toby for more beasts, and there's a lot of ways to do this in white. You have things like Feldar Guardian, where when it enters the battlefield, you can exile another creature, permanent you control, and bring it back in. Feldar Guardian works well with other things that can blink creatures, because you can blink Guardian and Toby, and kind of cascade down how many creatures are coming out and coming back in for the purposes of other abilities that care about when creatures come in. Fortune Loyal Steed, whenever it attacks while saddled at the beginning of combat, you can exile it and up to 1 creature that saddled it and bring them back in. So we can have Toby saddle Fortune and have them both blink. Fortune will scry us 2 when it comes back in, and then Toby will make us another one of those beasts. Gilrain says for 2 mana, we can exile another target creature you control and return it back to the battlefield. But if you don't, you, at the beginning of your next end step, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a vigilance counter and a lifelink counter. So that's kind of interesting. If we want to delay it, we can bring Toby back in with vigilance and lifelink, or we can just bring him back in right away. Cloud Shift and Ephemerate can both blink a creature at instant speed. Nice way to protect Toby if somebody's trying to remove it and still get the benefit. And then with Ephemerate, beginning of our next turn, we get to blink Toby again off of that spell to get another beast. Slip on the Ring allows us to blink a creature and then the ring tempts us. Just again, another cheap way to do that very easily. Sword of Hearth and Home's kind of a fun one. Gives creature protection from white and green and +2/+2. And when the equipped creature deals damage to a player, we exile up to 1 creature we own, search our library for basic land cards, and put both of them back on the battlefield. This is a great way to ramp and blink Toby for more beast tokens. And then Teleportation Circle at the beginning of our end step, exile a creature, bring it back. Here's a way to get a new beast token out of Toby every turn for 4 mana. But as far as getting stuck in go, this is where we're going to do what we're going to do best as a token deck, right? Allow our wide board to just get in for damage. You have things like Problem of the Steel Legion that gives all of our creature tokens +1/+4, turns all our 1/1s into 2/5s. They're going to do really well in combat for us. Does also have the option to make soldier tokens on it. Warren Warleader is probably one of my favorite wins here just recently for a deck like this. For 6 mana, you can get that second copy of Warren Warleader as it comes in. And then whenever you attack, you get to choose one. Remember, if you have it and its offspring copy, you get to choose twice. Either 2 rabbit tokens, a rabbit and a +1/+1 buff, or just a +2/+2 buff to all attacking creatures you control can really mean a lot, especially once those tokens are in the air. Chrome as well is a great finisher. If you have your commander out, you can choose both. But you basically get your choice of Flying, Vigilance, and Double Strike, or Lifelink, Indestructible, and Protection from each color, effectively giving all your creatures unblockable unless your opponent has a ton of colorless creatures. But if your commander's out, you're giving your board effectively Flying, Vigilance, Double Strike, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Protection from all colors, which should in most scenarios give them unblockability and lead to a massive attack that your opponents are going to have a tough time dealing with, and lifelink, putting you pretty much safe from any crackback that isn't, commander damage. Cathar's Crusade will just take our board and run it out of hand. Anytime a creature comes in, you put a counter on each other creatures you control. All those 1/1s are going to get to be a huge threat to our opponents, so they're going to have to try to figure out what they're going to do dealing with that. Flowering of the White Tree, giving all of our legendary creatures +2/+1 and Ward 1. Little protection there for Toby. And then all non-legendary creatures get +1/+1. Again, bringing our 1/1s up to 2/2s. And then a new card from Duskmourn I can't stop talking about because I love it, and I think it belongs in every deck that can pay it off at all. And that's Dollmaker's Shop and Porcelain Gallery. On the Dollmaker's side, whenever one or more non-toy creatures attack a player, we get to make a toy creature token. And then on the Porcelain Gallery side, creatures you control have base power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control. This plus having enough tokens with Toby to get them all in the air should lead to some big combats where you can really hurt your opponents. Think about it, with just 6 or 7 creatures, you're talking about all your tokens being in the air as 6/6s, 7/7s. And unless your opponents are playing enough flyers, this is going to threaten, a good portion of the table. And then a couple more buff enchantments. Inspiring Leader, giving all of our tokens +2/+2 as long as Toby's out. Intangible Virtue, +1/+1 and Vigilance to all of our tokens. And then something like Legion Loyalty just makes a ton of sense, giving all of our creatures Myriad, meaning that when they attack a player, we get a copy of that creature tapped and attacking every other opponent, which is really nice and can lead to big damage swings with any of these buff enchantments, right? Think about it, just a 1/1 attacking one person now turns into 3/1/1s, and if they have any buffs on them, now you're talking about 2 or 3 3/3s, right? And if Toby's turned on, now they're in the air, right? So now you just have more and more damage getting done to your opponents. But I've said it before on the show, and I'll say it again. No deck's ever complete. This is my version 1.0 shot at Toby. I think there's a lot to be learned in testing. Mainly, do we have enough token production? Do we have enough of these buffing style effects to really be meaningful down the line to get into our opponents? So the cards I have here that I'd consider in testing are 2 buffs and then 1 override type effect. I did avoid doublers in the deck just for the cost of those cards, but I think they would be perfect add-ins if you have extra budget. Add the Anointed Procession, add the Mondrak, add the O'Hare Talk for just more and more of these tokens. But I tried to keep the budget lower on the power scale, or not, sorry, lower on the money scale, so I didn't include those three, but they'd be easy includes if you did. On the affecting the rider side, we have Divine Visitation, turning all tokens we make into 4/4 angels with Flying and Vigilance. This is just a great ability. I think it'd be really helpful. I just wasn't sure if I had enough of the other things to make the deck still hum, but if we do, I think it's worth coming in. On the buff side, Securiton Squadron has Squad. So when we cast it, we can pay 3 mana any number of times, and if we do, we get copies of it for each time we've paid it. And it says whenever a creature token comes in, put a counter on it. So with 2 of them, that's 2 counters, right? This is a great way to buff those tokens as they come in, and that could be very relevant. And then Virtual Loyalty can give a +1/+1 counter to all of our creatures in the end of our turn and untap them, basically giving them a buff and Vigilance, right, as long as they survive combat. I like both of these cards. Both of them really, I wanted to bring them in, but I wanted to make sure that we had enough of the meat and potatoes there first before we bring in, some extra pieces. So let's get into playtest number 1, keeping a 2-lander with Intangible Virtue, Adeline, Stroke of Midnight, Rosie. Rosie says whenever a token comes in, you put a counter on a creature other than Rosie. This is great, right, to grow our board. And then Heraldic Banner, giving all white creatures a little bit of a buff if we choose white and add a mana color. So we're just 1 mana off most of our things, but we should be able to get it pretty soon. Turn 1, well, we draw that Plains. So we're good to go. We've got the 3 mana to do almost everything we want to do. Turn 2, we draw Reprieve, a little bit of interaction with our opponents, returning a spell to its owner's hand and drawing a card. I don't see really anything to do here on turn 2, so we'll just leave up that Reprieve. I could pick the Intangible Virtue this turn. I guess the question to the table would become, am I worried about something needing reprieved? I think otherwise, I probably just play that Intangible Virtue, right? Get it set up and ready to go. Turn 3, the question becomes, do I slam Toby and get the party going, or do I play the banner and try to get more next turn? I think we just get Toby down and get that beast in, because the beast needs to attack with somebody else. Now that beast is a 5/5 because of the virtue, which means it's going to be a good attack for our opponents. Here on turn 4, like I said, I guess there's a world where we banner. It'd only be banner plus reprieve. So I think we'll just Adeline. Toby has to attack with the beast in order for the beast to attack. If I have a good attack for Toby, I'm going to attack. Mainly because I can get a bunch of humans, right? And they immediately all go into the air this turn. It won't help Toby, though, so this is where the risk could be involved on attacking with Toby. If on turn 4 I have a free opponent, I think I make that attack. If I don't, then I don't. But let's play in the world where I do. I have a good attack for Toby. 3 humans with Adeline, they're all in the air. So the 2/2s and a 5/5 all in the air, which means they're going to hit in for big damage, and we kind of get to plan for another one here. So I would go 3 there and get this Heraldic Banner down. That's giving all our white creatures +1/+0. So now Toby's a 2/1. And then I would use that mana and the other 2 to play Rosie. Rosie comes in and makes us a food token. I'm going to put that counter on Toby, just so now Toby can start attacking. It can become a threat, right? Because it was kind of becoming a little bit worse. Right now it's a 3/2 attack right now, so that's pretty cool. Adeline's sitting at a 7, an 8/4 right now, so she's a great attacker as well. But the cool part now is, now I don't need to attack with Toby, because now Adeline can attack, and it's going to be very tough to deal with as an 8/4 unless our opponents have a lot of blockers, and we're just going to get more and more value, right? So we're going to go combat attack with Adeline and all the tokens, because there's no reason not to. We're going to make 3 more humans, which is going to have 3 more Rosie triggers. I'd put a couple of these on Adeline just so she can't get chump blocked, and another one on Toby. And now, we're off to the races. All these are in the air. They're dealing big damage. Our opponents basically now have to get rid of Toby. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to make this hurt, right, for our opponents. But we'll go one more turn. Turn 6, we'll play a forest. I mean, Season of the Burrow could be great if we need to get rid of our opponent's things and make a couple rabbits, right? Get a couple more counters on our things. We do have this food token as well. So my gut for the burrow just says to go all into the rabbits, unless there's something we really want to get rid of. And then I guess we would get rid of it. But otherwise, I think I would just make, let's say we make 3 rabbits and we get rid of something, their opponents draw something. This is 3 more triggers, a counter on Adeline. Let's put 2 more counters on Toby, just so that Toby can become a more relevant attacker. Move to combat, attack. Again, 3 more humans. Up to 5 counters here. We'll go up to 5 on Toby. And again, now you have all these 3 these are all 3/2s in the air. The rabbits, of course, can't attack this turn, but all the humans are. That beast is a 6/5 in the air. And now we're just dealing massive damage, right? I mean, at the end of the day, this is going to come down to, can our opponent remove Toby? And Toby's only 3 mana, meaning that Toby's going to only come back out for 5. And we get to just do this again. They all have vigilance because of intangible virtue. They can all block. I mean, we're in one of those spaces where, right, it's either a board wipe or remove Toby as a way to stop it. And that's nice as a deck when you can get to a point where that's your, right, that's your confidence. But let's get into playtest number 2. I think we've kind of determined, we've kind of shown where our proof of concept is there. Let's do it again. Keep it a 3-lander with Flowering of the White Tree, Flare of Fortitude for some protection. And we do have multiple protection spells in the deck. Adeline and Guide of Souls. Guide of Souls is a 1/2 that says whenever a creature comes in under our control, we gain a life and get an energy. And when we attack, we can pay 3 energies to put 2 +1/+1 counters and a flying counter on target attacking creature, and it becomes an angel as well. So a way to kind of get our creatures in the air. It feels great for something like Adeline to get in the air, right, and use its ability. So here on turn 2, I think I would just play the Flowering. I can't think of anything else I want to do this turn other than the Flowering. So I think we just do that. Turn 3, I guess we'll get the Mirrex down because in the future it can make tokens. I'd play Adeline this turn, so Adeline's going to give us a energy. And this is actually a really fun interaction we can do this turn. So Guide of Souls is our only legal attack, right? Because Adeline just came in. Guide of Souls is a 2/3, so it's at least a good body. We're going to have it attack, right? Adeline's going to make all these humans on attack. All right, so we're going to put Adeline's trigger on top of Guide of Souls' attack trigger. Adeline's going to make the 3 humans, getting us 3 more energy. Then Guide of Souls is going to go off, and we're going to use it, right, to make itself a to give itself 2 +1/+1 counters and that flying counter. So now it's a 2, 3, 4, 5 in the air, right? So now it's a great attacker for us. And now next turn we're going to do the same to Adeline. But next turn, now these humans, let's say, there's probably a world where 1 or 2 of them die on turn 3. This turn we get Toby down, right? Another energy, gain another life. Toby's going to make the 4/4 beast. Another energy, another life. Now we're going to attack with Adeline and Guide of Souls, right? Adeline's going to make us 3 more humans again. Now we're back up to 6 counters, but we're going to immediately use 3 of them to give Adeline, 2 counters and that flying counter. And you can kind of start to see that every turn we're going to be giving creatures flying and getting them in the air. The tokens are already in the air because of Toby, and they have that buff, right? Now, Adeline's in the air as a 10, 12, 12-5, 12-7, a big attacker in the air. Lots of things in the air. We're gaining life on things coming in. Now our opponents really need to find a way to just take care of our board because we're just pushing our stuff forward. We're keeping up the flare. All we have to do is sacrifice a non-token white creature to give our board indestructible and hexproof. And we don't even mind giving up Toby to do it if we have to, because Toby can just come in again down next turn for 5 mana and, and do exactly what we're doing now. I mean, we're in one of those board states where we have 1 free, buff, and we're just going to keep going. Let's say we get back to our turn and truly no one has done anything. We'll play the Defiler, allowing us to pay 2 mana or 2 life for one of the white pips on all of our permanents, and then whenever we cast a white permanent, we make a 1/1 soldier. But here you go, right? 1 more energy, go to combat. Adeline makes 3 more humans, 3 more energy, pay 3 this time to get Toby in the air. And, I mean, we're just going to keep doing this, right? Just keep attacking, keep getting this damage in. And we're talking about turn 4 and 5, just brutalizing this damage through our opponents. Yes, a little bit Christmas Land of getting Adeline in our starting hand and things like that. But I think that's the goal of this deck, is get these token engines down on board, make tokens every turn as best we can, get them in the air, get damage in, and protect our board. Let's see, just out of curiosity, I want to see how many protection spells I'm playing. 1, 2, 3, 4... 5 with the Crescendo, 6 with Unbreakable Formation. So that's 6 standard protection spells that we can use mana to protect our board with. 2 of them are free. A third one, Clever Concealment, could potentially be free with the Convoke. But it just goes to show you that like protecting your board can mean a ton. And just getting these tokens done every turn and getting involved is the thing that's going to win you the game. So if you want that mono white, go wide tokens thing, I think Toby is a great choice for you, and it's one that if I didn't already have enough token decks, it'd be one I would heavily consider for mono white, because I think it does really good at what it's trying to do, and I think Toby's a fun character nonetheless. But let me know, what do you think of Toby down in the comment section below, and I catch you guys next time.